Hello, Elder Smith here, and today I'd like to continue where we left off in Genesis. And Abram went out of Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai, unto the place of the altar which he had made there at the first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. And Lot also, which went with Abram, had flocks, herds, and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdmen of Abram's cattle and the herdmen of Lot's cattle, and the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelled in the land. And Abram said unto Lot, Let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we be brethren. Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go the right. And if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest unto Zoar. Now, the thing that I find interesting about this is God had already promised this whole land to Abram and his people and his seed. And yet, despite all this, Abram could have said, Depart from me, but don't take any of this land. You go on, you find your own land to dwell in. But no, even though God had already promised all this to him, Abram had such love for Lot, and he never overlooked the fact that he was his nephew and that they were brethren. And not only did he allow him to continue on in this land, but he even allowed Lot to choose which he would take and dwell in, while Abram would take the other. Now that's something right there. For someone to take something that's given to them and say, Here, let's for the time being divide it, and I will let you choose which one you will have. Now that shows the love Abram has for his nephew Lot. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves, the one from the other. Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, Lift up now thine eyes, and look from the place where thou art northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. Arise, and walk through the land in the length of it, and the breadth of it, for I will give it unto thee. Then Abram removed his tent, and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. And it came to pass, in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, and Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, Now, in this part, I will warn you, there's a lot of names up ahead. I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing, but bear with me and I'll do my very best. That these made war with Bera, king of Sodom, and with Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, and Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zoar. All these were joined together in the vale of Siddim, which is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled, and in the 14th year came Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, and they smote Rephaims and Ashtaroth, Karnaim, and Zuzims and Ham, and the Edomims and the Emims and Sheva and Kerathaim, and the Horites in their mount Seir unto Alparam, which is by the wilderness, and they returned and came to Emisphet, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites that dwell in Hezazon, Tamar. And there went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same as Zoar. And they joined battle with them in the vale of Siddim, with Chedorlaomer, and the king of Elam, and with Tidal, king of nations, and Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Ariak, king of Elasar, 4 kings with 5. And the vale of Siddim was full of slime pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their victuals, and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, and dwelt in Sodom, and took his goods and departed. Now, if you're having a hard time keeping up with what the scriptures are saying here, let me explain it to you this way. All these kings dwelt together for about 13 years, but now, for one reason or another, war broke out between them. They divided into 2 groups, and they made war with each other. Well, at the time, the king of Sodom and Gomorrah were taken captive, and their enemies have come and claimed maybe not the cities, but have claimed the possessions of that city. And they have even taken Lot, Abram's nephew, as a captive. And that's where we are right now in the scriptures. And there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite brother of Eshcol, and the brother of Anar, and these were confederate with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, and born in his own house 318, and pursued them unto Dan. And he divided himself against them, and he and his servants by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Horba, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot and his goods, and the women also, and the people. So Abram was notified of what happened, so he gathered his trained men and went into battle and freed Lot and delivered all the captives out from their enemies. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him at the valley of Shaveh, which is the king's dale. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High, God blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand, and gave him tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods to thyself. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up mine hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, and I will not take from thee a thread, even to a shoe latchet, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich. So he's showing right there that Abram is acknowledging the fact that he's rich, but he's giving the credit to God. He doesn't want to get anyone else to take credit, saying, well, Abram's rich because I made him, so because of that, he will not take anything from this king. And he says, so backing up a little bit, I will not take from thee even to a shoe latchet, that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich, save only that which the young men have eaten, and the portion the men which went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. And that's where I shall end today's video. I hope all of you enjoyed it. I thank you for bearing with me as I was stumbling over the names. That's always my biggest challenge when reading the scriptures. Well, anyways, remember to study, to show thyself approved, rightfully dividing the word of truth, put on the whole armor of God, and fight the good fight.